Good afternoon, Lancaster. Welcome to Lancaster Connects. My name is Ben McClure, your host for the next hour. Lancaster Connects, maybe this is your first time watching, maybe this is your 10th or 100th time watching. I think this is episode 197. Lancaster Connects is a show where we have conversations with great people in the Lancaster community doing amazing things in their community. Today's guest is no exception. His name is Josh Vanderplate, and he's representing Vertex Mechanical. So we're going to bring Josh on in a little bit here. Hey, it's starting to feel like summer this week. It's June 2nd. I can't believe we're already in the 6th month of the year. Incredible. This year is just flying by. We had a rainy May. Goodness. I think it was the rainiest May on history, or in history here in Lancaster. So it's nice that this week is sunshine and warmth all week, which is great. I think we may even talk about the heat a little bit with our guest. Again, he's representing a company that does HVAC service, and they need heat to maintain air conditioning units. So anyway, we're gonna bring Josh on in a little bit. This show, again, Lancaster Connects, is sponsored by Gardner's Mattress & More. That's the business that I co-own with my partner in business here, Jeff Giannakovo. Not able to be on the show today, but he's working his way back into shows. He was on the last 2 episodes, and he'll definitely be on future episodes. Just couldn't make it today. But LancasterConnects.com is where you can find all the Lancaster Connects information. You can see past episodes on there. There's a button at the top for past episodes. To be a guest, if you'd like to tell your story, maybe you represent an organization or a small business that gives back to the community, or a community benefit organization that obviously gives back to the community. We'd love for you to come on the show and tell your story. Just go to LancasterConnects.com/guest. Fill out the simple guest form there, and we'll set up a time to have you on the show. We are booking guests into the summer, which is awesome. Would love to tell your story as well. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook, both Gardner's Mattress & More and Lancaster Connects YouTube and Facebook channels. We'd love for you to give us a like and a subscribe in YouTube and a like on Facebook. Share this show. Share it for the purpose of more people being aware of our guests and hearing their stories. The more people that will watch Lancaster Connects, the more impact these organizations have within their community, which is what this show is all about: making connections, obviously, to organizations and community to the organizations and organizations to the community, and again, making a bigger impact here in Lancaster County. So just a couple quick things. I mentioned Gardner's Mattress & More. That's the business that I'm sitting within. It's the 4 walls that Jeff and I co-own together here, all the mattresses. You can see a couple behind us here. Of course, we don't wake up. We wake up happy, but we help our community wake up happy. That is our mission here at Gardner's, to change the way you feel about mattress stores. And I just wanted to mention, maybe toot our horn a little bit. We just wrapped up our busiest month in our 35-year history this past May. There was one other month that maybe beat it in sales numbers, but we also did a home show during that month, which was a whole level of effort and expense. But it was the single biggest month we've ever had here. And I don't say that to tout how great we are or anything like that. Of course, I think we're very good, and our reputation, I think, speaks for itself. But the point is, people are trusting us trusting their sleep to us, for them to wake up happy. The more people we can help improve their sleep, the happier Lancaster County is, and the more impact these better sleepers, these happy sleepers, are having within their own 4 walls, their own family, and again, their own community. So we're helping people sleep better, which hopefully in turn is helping the Lancaster community. So again, Gardner's Mattress & More. If we can help you with your sleep needs, give us a shot. Visit Gardner'sMattressandMore.com. Stop by anytime. We're a no-pressure sort of place. We listen to your sleep needs and make recommendations based on those sleep needs in a no-pressure, relaxed environment here. Doing a lot of cool things here. And of course, Lancaster Connects is one of the ways that we like to give back. And I think it's time to bring our guest on to have that conversation We're happy to welcome Josh Vanderplate, who is the CEO of Vertex Mechanical. Josh, welcome to the show.
Man, thanks for having us here, Ben. I am really honored to connect with you again.
Yeah, yeah. So the first connection was made at the what was it, a month ago? Maybe. Oh, man,
Yeah,
it feels like last week. But
yeah,
the North Lancaster Chamber of Commerce Business Expo.
yep,
You were there. Gardner's was there. And a mutual friend of ours, or at least somebody who
yeah,
knew of you and that you were doing. You were actually broadcasting or recording a podcast right there
yeah,
on the. And the funny thing was, you guys were all the way kind of in the back of the room,
correct.
and we
Yeah,
were like
hidden away.
literally the first. We were literally the first booth as you walk into the place.
Yeah,
And I had done my rounds, but I just didn't see you there. And there you are,
there we
with
are.
Nathan, I think, right?
Yeah, that's correct. You got it. Yep,
Yep. So, Valonda Banks, who is a past Lancaster Connects guest and probably will be a future guest here in the summer, she's
no
like, "You
doubt.
got to see these guys back here. They're doing a podcast. You do a podcast. You got to come see these guys and be on the show." And I'm like, "All right, let's go." So she walked me back and introduced, and we had a maybe 5 or 10 minute conversation. And you were
Yeah,
like, "You got to be on our show." And we like, "Yeah, you do mattresses. That's part of the home, right? The Homeology
yeah, that's great.
podcast." And I'm like,
Yeah,
Josh, you've got to be on Lancaster Connects. Tell your story. So it was a
absolutely.
fun chance meeting, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, and it was a really great evening. Obviously, we're huge fans of the Northern Lancaster Chamber of
Yep.
Commerce. And
Awesome
what's interesting
organization.
about those, yeah, they're an amazing organization. And the way the businesses really serve one another is really extraordinary. But for us, we're like, there's only so much you can talk about in an evening related to air filters or heating systems. And as I think, as we mentioned, he was like, nobody's hunting on Pinterest for the coolest new heat pump. So we don't have anything exciting. I mean,
There's
at the
probably like one person out there that
oh, there
is.
might
It's
be.
either
Actually, I'm gonna guess that that one person is on Reddit, not on Pinterest,
right, right, right,
right?
right.
Because they're hunting that. But I was like, "Oh, Ben, you guys got something cool to talk about. You have mattresses," and I was like, "That's people are looking for that." And,
Yep.
we are the grudge purchase, right? It was like, "Oh, I guess we gotta make the call."
Yeah.
So, for
Yep.
that evening,
Yep.
we're like, "Can we try something different here that would be a little more enjoyable?" And so we just thought, "Let's set up, like, a podcast, whether or not we even can use all of it, it might be something that would, invite story." And you mentioned that at the start of your broadcast, like, "Hey, we love hearing stories from Lancaster."
Yep.
And I think that was the highlight of the night for us, was all the different stories that we got to hear. That was everything from, tea, hot tea, cold
Yep.
tea, to some of the insurance groups that were there, and pediatric dentistry. Like, you're hearing all these little different stories
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
about our region. And so it was a highlight to engage that way, not necessarily for, the benefit of the podcast as much as
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
kind of celebrate other businesses that were with us that night, including yours.
Yeah. Well, and that's what being in business or doing business in the community is all about. Knowing your customers, knowing who you're purchasing from, letting people tell stories. Stories is what it's all about. I mean, you're buying from people you trust,
Yeah.
doing business with people you trust. And yeah, I mean, a lot of times these expos, it's like, they all kind of look the same. Everybody's got a pop-up banner and they business cards and a couple pamphlets, and maybe there's some free pens or free toys, whatever.
We said it was
But
like the
like,
unofficial chip clip exchange night.
yeah.
That's what it
That's good.
was.
Or adult trick or treating. I've often heard
Absolutely it is. Yeah.
exposed referred
Yep.
to as adult trick or treating. But being allowing people to tell their stories
Yeah.
on camera, that was a great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, it was
So,
very fun.
well, let's learn about Vertex Mechanical and
Sure.
have this conversation about what you guys do, how you're different, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
you're the CEO of Vertex Mechanical, is that correct?
Yeah. That's correct. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've
So,
been here for a few years.
go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been here for a few years, but Vertex has been around actually for a long time, and,
Yeah.
I think that's one of the, beautiful parts about Lancaster County is you do have multi-generational businesses, and, that's one of, that's special about Vertex is although in this name, it's only been around since 2002 as Vertex
Okay.
Mechanical. Our owner, Vince, and his dad, Ray, have been doing this for over 40 years, and so they started it together.
Wow.
It was in
Okay.
2002 when Vince was like, "Hey, I think I wanna, like, I want to go after this a little more. And so he launched Vertex at that point. So it's really been, yeah,
Okay.
over 4 decades.
That's amazing. I mean, Gardeners has been around for 35 years. So I've
Mhm.
been involved since 2000. So I've got maybe 25 years
Yeah.
of Gardeners under my belt. But
Yeah.
that's amazing. So when you're doing business with Vertex, no matter what section of the business it is, there's 40 plus years of experience behind the
Yeah.
name. That's amazing.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would say about that too, sorry to jump in, is that,
Oh,
I think
please.
Vertex is often thought of as like, an arrival, like you've made it, you are the pinnacle of something, and I
Hmm.
think our mindset is it's not really, an achievement as much as it's an orientation. Right, we wanna
Mm,
orient ourselves around, pursuing the vertex, and that's in every part of the business. That's customer care and communication and the technology piece and, the equipment piece, but it's not something that we feel like we've made it. It's not like, "Oh, we've
gotcha.
arrived and we're there," and all accolades aside, we're just trying to stay oriented around that because of, changing dynamics, changing consumer needs, and let's just see what we can do to maintain that trajectory long term.
Gotcha, got you. So, as a CEO, what do you find yourself mostly doing there at Vertex? I know a CEO kinda covers a lot of
Yeah.
different roles and responsibilities and probably wear a lot of different hats, both
Yeah.
physical and otherwise. Um, yeah, go ahead. What do you
Sure.
find your responsibilities are there?
It sounds, more, big than it is, I promise you. That's the name, but it's really my joy is to serve the organization, any way that I can, whether that's helping to, administer some new technology parts within, our service platforms, helping to develop a better way of communicating some of our memberships to customers, which was a big
Mm,
thing that we did about 2 years ago, completely revamped that. Right now, day to day, I'm helping with a lot of onboarding of new employees, which is a big part of the industry need right now. And then the customer objections. We're talking through, hey, here's a need they have, here's what they're
mm,
confused about.
mhm,
How do we reconcile some of that? But I love when I get the opportunity to just kind of serve other team members and whatever sphere they're in, whether that's in the warehouse or accounting or the HR piece of things. Really, if I can help strengthen what they're doing,
mm,
then I'm a happy guy. The part that is probably the most exciting and the part that I love the most is the getting to serve the community, which I know we're going to touch on a little bit
yeah,
later.
yeah.
And that's a gift, I think, for my role is getting to celebrate community and invest in the community and build amazing relationships with the community from the specific role that I'm in.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely touch on that community bit later on here.
Mhm.
So, what are some of the services Vertex Mechanical offers? I mean, Chris has had some images and whatnot on the screen, some
Yeah.
shots of your website. But in your words, what what do you do?
Yeah, so real simply, we provide heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical solutions for both homeowners and small businesses.
Yep.
And we like to say that we're here for your comfort. Um, and that's a pretty broad phrase, right? Because everyone's definition of comfort is unique. But we'll provide heating and cooling services, which includes really innovative comfort
Mm,
solutions. And I do think that's something that sets us apart in that we'll provide some solutions uniquely tailored to both your budget and your home that others might
mhm,
not be able to provide. I think our 40 plus years of experience have enabled us to, kind of curate some innovative solutions. So that's the day to day. It's heating, cooling, electrical, plumbing, and we serve primarily Lancaster County and then into
mm.
Reading and Lebanon.
Okay. It's interesting to hear use the word comfort because that's a huge word in our industry.
No doubt. Yeah.
Support, mattress, support for your body and comfort has got to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Mattress has to shape and mold to your body, reduce pressure points, all that. So comfort is like a big deal. Um,
Right.
and it sounds like your selling process is a lot like the selling process we have for finding the right mattress for each individual unique sleeper, right? Because the needs
Yeah.
are vast.
Yeah.
We see
I think
all
you're
kinds
right.
of people with all kinds of sleep needs, and you're the same way. And not one solution is going to work for every single person that you deal with.
Yeah, that's really one of the unique identifiers, I think, of who we are as an organization, because really Lancaster has got Oh, I mean, I would guess hundreds of mechanical contractors,
Sure,
right, in this region. Like,
sure.
it's full of them, and they range from the really large companies that probably have 200 technicians down to the individual, the sole prop. And so there's so much available, accessible to the consumer. But for Vertex, when we go into a home and we're starting to listen to what the needs are. What's interesting is the easiest solution is not always the best solution for the consumer.
Mhm.
And what I mean
Yep,
by easy is technology, I think is interesting. Technology has enabled some things that require a lower barrier to entry, which means you don't have to know as much to provide a service. That was kind of that prosumer movement that kind of shifted into the 90s and
mhm.
2000s, prosumer. But so since that technology has lowered the barrier to entry, you can throw out a solution to a homeowner that's easiest for the contractor, but not necessarily best for the homeowner. And so
Yeah,
Vertex has really made it a core commitment that let's invest in what's going to create the most effective, most efficient solution, even if that's harder on us as installers or as service technicians, because
yeah,
ultimately we're not looking just for what's the fastest way to flip this
yep,
job and grab the money from the
yep,
consumer. That I know that sounds a little brash, but that is part of the
yep.
industry
No
stigma,
question.
right? Is what can we
Yep,
throw in as fast as possible and
yep,
get out the door with our check? And so
yep,
Vertex, I think, has taken a similar posture to you guys, Ben, where it's, man,
yep,
the investment in listening to the consumer's needs and then looking for a solution that is uniquely fit to them. Yeah, that's
yep.
our sweet spot.
Yeah, you're taking time to educate the consumer, which is
Yeah.
time, which is
True.
also money.
Yeah.
But it's important to make sure that the solutions provided meet the customer's needs because that leads to positive word of mouth,
Yeah.
testimonials, referrals, the Google reviews. Chris had your, flash of your Google page up there.
Yeah.
4.9 is fantastic in
Yeah.
any business.
Sure.
Um, yeah, so taking the time to educate is what it's all
Yeah.
about. What are some of the core values and principles that Vertex is based on?
Mhm. That's a great question. I mean, I think that there are some core values that we have that are probably written on a lot of business walls somewhere. They're on a whiteboard
Sure.
and Pat Lencioni from the Table Group, he talks about the difference between a core value and an aspirational one. And aspirational ones, they're the things that you hope
Mm,
that one day you're doing regularly, and the core ones are a part of your DNA now. It's what you do in and out. And for us, I
mm,
think two things that stand out for me are transparency, like customer transparency around what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and then the ethics around owning our mistakes. And
yeah,
those probably
yeah,
don't make it like on a nice business card, but the truth is, 4.9 is an accurate reflection of we still make mistakes. And part
yeah,
of that,
yeah,
which we could talk about for the next couple of hours, is the skills gap
sure.
and the next, season is gonna be enormous. What does that mean? Like, we're training and developing technicians, and they make
Yeah,
mistakes. It's on the job. It's all the time. And so I love seeing, yeah, the 5 stars, that's awesome, but then you'll get 1, and it's like, "Oh, wow, we swung hard, we missed hard."
yep,
Um, you
yep,
know, but the joy is then engaging with the consumer, with the homeowner and saying, man, thank you for your patience with us. Can we walk this out all the way to the
yep,
end and
yep,
ensure that we satisfied the expectation, even if along the way there were some speed bumps? And so I think that ethical norm is so a part of who we are. And the guys hear it a lot on our team. We call it our workmanship guarantee. It's not that we're not going to make mistakes, it's that we're going to
yeah,
guarantee the continued follow up. And
yep,
along with that, it's the care and the compassion. Because, like, I think what I said earlier was the only time we get phone calls is when there's distress. And so,
sure.
like, every customer starts from that place, right? Of help, something's not good here. I don't have heating, I don't have cooling. And so you're already starting that kind of mediating their anxiety
Yep,
and trying to de-escalate it. And so if you start that process, but then along the way you hit an obstacle, then the anxiety comes way back up again. And now you have to work through that once again.
yeah,
So again, I think that just points to the fact that at the end of each job, at the end of each project, hopefully we've invested in communication, in the education piece of it, and we've met the expectations. but most importantly, that we held on tightly through that process so that they feel like we're still trustworthy
Yeah.
and noble in our intent. Is that good?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's very clear. It's interesting. Like, the mark of a truly great business is not in doing everything perfect, because that's not possible. I mean, you
Yeah,
strive for that maybe, but and to do everything to the best of the ability. But
sure.
really, the mark of a truly great business, and one that customers can trust, is what happens when things go wrong.
Hmm.
What happens when that phone rings and, hey, your guys were here and this happened.
Hmm.
And like you said, in that follow up and follow through. So it shines through the reputation you guys have, and it
Thank
aligns
you.
very much with our philosophy here at Gardeners as well. So
Hmm.
this is a cool
Yeah,
cool connection to make here. Um,
absolutely.
you know, to further that, and you kind of mentioned your team there.
Yeah,
You can't successfully, as a business owner or CEO of a company, you can't successfully carry out the mission, or
sure.
what you're contracted to do, without good people, without
Yeah.
great people, fantastic people. And it seems like team culture and your employees there at Vertex are kind of the number one priority.
Yeah, that is the right segue to have. I was just about to say, is like, oh man, like we can talk these lofty and grand hopes of communicating and caring well for the customers, but then it really boils down to those individuals that are face to face with them. And so our team is like our number one priority. And I just so admire the technicians that are in the field, installers, service techs,
Mhm.
plumbers, because once again, they step into concern and they step into uncomfortable situations every day. And so our commitment, we talked about it's okay to make mistakes, and we're going to walk through that with the homeowner. The bigger question is, how do we create a space where our technicians have margin to create those mistakes, and then they're not penalized or punished for that, but
Mhm.
they're
Mhm.
nurtured and encouraged and then strengthened. And so I remember it was just the other week, we had a technician that did something, and one of the older members of our team was like, he let him do it. Like he let him do it what he knew was going to require a fix immediately,
Mhm.
because he knew that, okay, I'm going to create space for this, because if he when he does this wrong this time, he'll never do it wrong the next time. And so
Right. Right.
so creating like team leads that understand the beauty and the blessing of those teachable moments, I think, is a real
Mhm.
core part of who we are. Creating space for the misses, and then nurturing them along the way to become a stronger technician for the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you do anything as an organization for your team members, company outings, anything like that you know retain good employees? What's
So
that
I think,
culture look like at Vertex?
yeah, it's a great question. We do some team things. I would say probably we're weaker than some organizations on creating lots of like outside of the space
Sure. Sure.
work environments. Um, Although this past Friday night was a good example of some of the things that we do, which we can touch on then, which was the Reading Phillies,
Yeah.
the Cocal Community Night.
Yep.
But I think the retention piece comes, one, in the confidence that each technician has, that each team member has in the grace space for making mistakes,
Yep.
right? And so
Yep.
they hear that often
Yep.
enough. We talk about it enough, but then we also invest a lot in their continued education. There's a couple ways that we do that. But they also, every team member in our organization has a personal improvement plan, and that's helping to kind of show
Mhm.
what's their long term trajectory within the organization, both at a skill level, at a here's some next steps educationally that we want to pursue. But sometimes it's soft skills, or sometimes it's just like there's some of those intrinsic things that we want to develop. And so I think because we help to create a long-term plan, it's not just rooted in, what's my hourly, take home, or,
Right.
what's the bonus going to be. It's how are we investing in your career path, even if that means someday we're going to help you transition out of our organization into another one. And so, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if we set that
Yeah.
expectation early, then they know we're here for them, whether that's for a short season or a long term, the entire length. We're there to make sure that they continue to achieve their own personal maximum potential.
That's awesome. I love it. I love it. So obviously, your team is important.
Yeah.
Customers are important. We talked about that a little bit. Maybe you can talk a little bit about what maybe the customer journey looks like when they make that call. They're in a panic. and
Yeah,
your team is probably, kind of like therapy in a way. You're like, calm
yeah.
down. Here's how we can handle it. We can be out there this afternoon. That sort of thing. So maybe you can walk a little through what that customer journey looks like. I know it's
Yeah,
different for every customer, different situations, but
sure.
maybe just a little glimpse into what that looks like.
Yeah, it is like therapy, and it really is, and, if you've had the opportunity at any point to hear some of our radio commercials, either
Mm.
on, like, on IOV in particular, Riley is one of our team members who answers the phones, and but she's also on the commercials, "Hey, it's Riley from Vertex Mechanical." Like, you can hear her smile come through the radio,
Ah,
right?
yeah,
You can
yeah.
just hear it,
Yep, yep.
and so it's really hard to stay frustrated when you're talking to a contagious
Mhm.
smile.
Yep.
And Riley's
That's
only
I love it.
yeah, and Riley's just one of those team members that does that, and so initially a phone call comes in and there's some initial empathy, which is like, "Man, we're so sorry you're experiencing X. What can we
Mhm,
do to
mhm.
help make that a little bit better for you?" Of course, we're just about hopefully into a cooling season, this week. We're the 2nd of June. Yesterday, I was still wearing a sweatshirt because it was chilly out, but
It's crazy.
you know, it is. It's amazing, but hopefully, for us, heat is just around the corner. Well, what's interesting in our industry, people get way more uncomfortable in the summer than they do in the winter. Like, they'll endure lots of extra layers in the winter, but when summer
Ah, yeah,
comes
yeah. That's
and the
true.
heat is on, yeah, that's when the emergency calls come, and people are like,
Wow.
"Now, yesterday, get here now." And so,
Yeah.
what are you trying to do? You're trying to help them, first, like, "Okay, help us understand what you're experiencing. What's the discomfort?" If we
Yeah.
can, we love when it's as simple as, well, maybe you need to switch your thermostat. Like, we love it when it's that simple. It rarely is. But then we start to talk through, okay, are you looking to have someone come out and maybe look at a new system? Or are you looking to have someone that's going to come out and begin to try to repair something? In the summertime, here's your kind of little uh, what do you call it? Like, peek into the back door of the HVAC world. Like,
Mhm.
over the next couple
Mhm.
of weeks, that first heat wave,
Yep.
probably, I mean, more than half of the calls are gonna be resolved by one thing, and that's a capacitor on the outside unit that failed, and that's about a 15-minute fix. It's not a big deal,
Okay.
and just like that. The problem is, if that would have been cared for, like, during a preventative maintenance, um,
Ah, okay.
it would the cost of it would have been, a third or a fourth of what the emergency is
Yep.
when it happens.
Yep.
But that's what's
Yep.
about to happen, and so, we then will get the technician scheduled to go out, and hopefully it's something simple like that. It isn't always that simple.
Yep.
But
Yep.
we do a lot of verbal communication with our customers as things are going on, because when someone's, for one, in your
Mhm.
home, you want a lot of transparency. Like, they're in your sacred space, they're in your safe space, and so
Oh,
we
yeah.
just have a lot of conversation as things are going on. Mrs. Homeowner, let's just talk about what we found at this point. Here's some things that we can do next. How would you like us to proceed? And that isn't always black and white, because when you have
Right.
aging equipment, you might be saying, like, do you want to invest in the repair, or are we at a threshold where we want to talk about replacing because efficiency has changed so much? So once again, there's not like a checklist necessary for each team member,
Yeah.
but it's entering transparently into the conversation, communicating a lot so that they can make an educated decision.
I'm I'm glad you brought up, the preventative maintenance part of it.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, that's something I'm guessing you recommend that everybody should have, and it's probably likely that most people don't have something like that in place and only use a service like you provide there when it is an emergency,
Sure.
when it's, and of course, when it's like a major heat wave and there's an emergency, now you're talking about a potential risk for, uh, you
Yeah.
know, uh, bodily harm to themselves for being in a,
Yeah.
well, too warm house, maybe an older
Right.
individual, whatever.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about the preventative maintenance piece, what you
Sure.
guys do and why it's recommended?
Yeah, and there's a lot of debate out there, I suppose, about this, and many people would be like, I'll just deal with it when the collision happens,
Yeah,
and
right.
we deal with it all the time. The preventative maintenance has kind of two key elements to it. One is, nowadays, if you install a new system, the manufacturers actually require a preventative maintenance annually to maintain your
Mm,
warranty. And
Mm.
they're getting a little bit more rigid about that. And they're saying, listen, and if you want the whole big story, it's that as things get more efficient in our industry, metals get
Yeah.
thinner, the equipment gets lighter. And so it's more
Uh,
susceptible to damage, it's more susceptible to wearing out faster. And they're like, man, putting on these 8-year, 10-year warranties. The problem is if it's not maintained, like it's for sure going to have issues. And so the preventative maintenance is secures that warranty, it keeps it active. And
mm.
then secondarily, things like the air filter. Okay, everybody knows that there's one in there, like somewhere. Okay,
Mhm.
and a lot of the talk is typically like, "Hey, get this big MERV rating because we want it to be cleaner air that we breathe."
Yeah.
That's only a tiny part of this system. What it's really intended to do is keep the air clean that's going over the coil in the inside of your
Oh,
air handler, because as dirt and dust builds up on that coil, it becomes less and less efficient until it starts to then take more air pressure and is putting more
mhm.
strain, and now there's more amp draw on motors, and it's like this snowball effect of things within the
Right.
system that are starting to shut down. Think of it as asphyxiation, right? Is
Yeah.
as something
Yeah.
as simple as that air filter is like starting to asphyxiate the system. And there's been times that like we'll be called out for an emergency service, and it was because the air filter is just like it's thick with
Right.
debris. It hasn't been changed in years, and it's
Right.
real simple. Air can't do its job over the coils, etc. So preventive maintenance is one of the ways that you help to ensure that doesn't happen, and that includes some of those other components like the capacitors and the contactors. We'll check refrigerant
Yep.
levels and pressures. The systems today are really dialed in, like to be as efficient as they are. So we're looking at ounces of refrigerant and pounds of
Mhm.
pressure. And you're looking at subcooling and superheat and like all these really finite measurements that I am not really as smart enough to talk about. The other team members are, but the point is,
Sure.
they'll come out and evaluate all of that and look at it really carefully to ensure that, yeah, Mrs. Homeowner, your system is healthy, ready to roll in this season. And so it's about the long term preventative care, which I think most people understand, like on a vehicle. The same thing
Yeah.
is true with your
Yep.
HVAC system.
Yeah. So, you probably have like a monthly charge or like a membership of some kind that the consumer pays, and then you come out,
Yeah.
what, once annually, something like that?
Yeah, we really tailor that to the homeowner. Sometimes it's biannually. We'll do like a heating visit
Okay.
and a cooling visit. We do not
Oh,
have a
okay.
monthly charge per se. We kind of took the approach of, hey, we're like Costco. You buy a membership, and as often as you use us, you get a discount. And so the
Okay.
membership, yeah, the membership for us is pretty simple in that you pay an annual fee, and that fee waives all of your dispatch fees. So if you have an emergency, you don't pay a dispatch fee for us to come out. You
That's
get
cool.
10%
Yep.
off of all your services, and that can save a bundle over time. That includes the maintenances. So it,
Mhm.
it felt awkward, honestly, Ben. Like most HVAC companies have like this package where you buy the membership, but it's almost like saying, "Okay, Ben, you'd like to be a member at our Costco. How many times do you think you're going to come, and how much do you plan on spending? Because we're going to build that into a package."
Mhm.
I'm like, that
Right.
doesn't make sense to me as a homeowner. So a couple of years
Right.
ago, we just flipped it. We're like, "Nah,
Yep.
let's just make it real simple." So it's a
Yep.
little bit of a
That makes
newer
sense.
model. We've been doing it for a couple of years. It seems to make sense. Customers seem to be really happy with it, and we're
Yep.
happy to sign them up for it. Even if they do make an emergency call, we're like, "Hey, well, we'll get you onto the program now. You can save 10% today, and then keep,
Yep.
we'll be able to service you for the future." It was a great question.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Great that you have that, and I'm
Mhm.
sure information about that membership and all your services on your
Yeah,
is on your website,
got it.
vertex-mechanical.com. Chris has probably
That's
had
it.
it on the screen a couple times
Yeah,
here.
just put it a couple times.
Um,
Yeah,
there it is. So I wanna know, and again,
yeah,
it's how we met, what is
yeah.
the Homology podcast? Am I saying that right?
You
Homology?
you said it right. Yeah, that's right. Homology podcast. What is it? So a couple years ago, some of our team members were like, "Hey, we should really start a podcast, and let's just talk about like some of the questions that we get asked all
Yep.
the time." And that could be questions about air filters. It could be questions about refrigerant. It could be questions about the different types of systems that are out there. And so we started that a couple years ago, and I laughed with you because like this is so professional the way you guys do this. This is awesome, and the rhythm
It's all
and the
Chris, by the
routine.
way. Oh,
Chris
Chris.
is amazing because I'm like, "Wow, you guys do it so awesome, and it's live, and it's so," and we just go in like these spurts of enthusiasm. We're like, "Hey, does anybody have anything they
Yep.
wanna talk about?" They're like, "Oh, yeah, we got a bunch of things." And then we'll get on a whole bunch of episodes. The one that you're seeing there right now is from some
Yeah.
friends of ours from Alternate Heating Solutions, which is a couple hours
Okay.
away, actually, and they do, wood boilers. So it's wood burning boilers. It's
Oh,
fascinating, and quite an interesting market that they're in, both outdoor boilers as well as indoor
yep.
boilers, and so it's a hydronic system. But so the podcast for us, Homology, it covers all types of random things, even just, again, community-oriented things, but, sometimes we'll grab, like, some antique equipment that we have. I have some over on my shelf here, like antique thermostats, which, I mean, are enormous, and it looks like, you
Yeah.
have to be able to hand wire things. Or we'll talk about some of the concerns, even environmentally, or like the new refrigerant standards that just came out this year. So it's pretty broad,
Yep.
and we try to keep it small because, again, I think I get bored listening to myself talk about HVAC, so I'm like, I can't make somebody else listen to it for a while.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but yeah, we've been doing it for a couple years now.
That's cool. And are your episodes on your website or on YouTube? Where can we watch or even
Yeah.
listen?
Really, YouTube and Facebook are the best places to get it,
Yep. Yep.
because they're the ones that get updated the soonest and the most
Yep.
frequently. So, yeah, there's a YouTube channel, then they go up on Facebook, and we find that most of our, customers are there on the Facebook world most of the time.
Sure. Yep. Do you get, consumers interacting, or do you get, maybe them
Yeah.
asking questions, like, "Hey, can you do a show about XYZ?" Do you have that happen?
We do. Yeah, I think what's interesting is that we hear a lot of people say, "We watched your podcast," and I'm like, "That's funny," like, because I can't tell that anybody watches our podcast.
Right. Right.
I'm like, "Oh, this is amazing." People will come up to me, it's like, "Oh, yeah, we just heard about XYZ," and, like, it's a shocker. And so, yeah, people will ask us questions, and then we can either like refer them back to a previous episode.
Yep.
For a while there, we also did something that was called Stump the Yunt, which so Vince Yunt, our owner, his last name Yunt,
Okay.
we would grab
Stump the
we
Yut.
would grab questions from homeowners, and would be like, "Hey, we need your best question to ask Vince," like, whatever it is. We got to the point where it's like, it doesn't even need to be about HVAC, anything, just to put him on the spot.
Right. Yeah.
So we would do a
Yeah.
stump the yunt, throw out a question, and it could have been industry related, but,
Yeah.
that was just kind of a fun segment, and we would draw that from customers as well and try to like, yeah, so that episode there was kinda like, what's gonna happen? Because hey, man, this winter was a good winter. It was an and we were getting questions coming in left and right. People were like,
Yeah.
"Hey, what's gonna happen? What do I expect?" And everybody was concerned about their systems. So we're like, "Let's jump into it and talk about it." So that was some of the things that we enjoyed doing, when those unique questions came in.
That's really cool. I love that it's interactive in that way, and you're addressing things that are completely relevant to that moment in time,
Yeah,
and exactly what customers have in their head, um, and you're having fun with it too. Like, it's not, your
we do
professional suit and
because I
tie, whatever. You're, out in
know.
nature, playing in the snow,
And I told him, like, "We're
whatever.
doing this thing, like, one take only. We don't have time to
Yep,
edit. This is just go
yep,
for it," which makes it
yep,
all the more comedic because we launch in and we're like, "Who knows where this is going, folks, but let's
yeah,
have a good time." And we do because actually, what do they call that? Like, when you have, like, collective all the brains are together, that kind of, community knowledge, and I'm like,
yeah,
when we sit
yeah,
together, like, all of that different knowledge is coming from each one of the guys, whether it's Vince or Nate or one of the team members, and we sit there and talk about it, it's like, whoa, there are years and years of experience. It's really rich when you guys get an opportunity to share. And
yep,
this just happened to be
yep,
a format. I think it comes across really well and really lighthearted and just a lot of fun.
yep. Well, and it shows your customers that you not only care, you're
Yeah,
investing time in putting this together because you're giving,
sure.
educational information that can
Yeah,
benefit them in some way, shape, or form.
yeah.
But it immediately gets them to know and like you and trust you and the business, and I think it's a genius thing for you guys to
Yeah,
do. It's
I
really cool.
think that actually is kind of one of the big deals in that. Again,
Yep, yep,
not to run our own industry under the bus or anything, but it's not
sure.
like it's not like mechanical technicians have the most, noble, I don't know what do you call it, like they're not considered the most trust reliable individuals
Okay,
because
yeah,
there's been a lot of just like sleazy tactics in the
yeah,
past.
Yep.
There's this
Yep.
fear of the red tag, for example. Somebody comes in, looks at the equipment, puts a red tag on it. Mrs. Homeowner, don't ever use this because if you do, you're probably going to die within the next 48 hours.
Oh
So
my gosh.
that
Wow.
type of stuff exists, and we
Mm,
actually get out on the job sites, and we're like, "Well, ma'am, what's written on here? You don't even have that in your system. You're perfectly safe. Let's talk through that." And so I
ugh,
think because there is kind of a bad rap for some of our history historically,
mhm,
doing the
mhm.
podcast is one of the ways that we can kind of open up our hearts a
Yeah.
little bit, and be like, "Hey, here's who we really are. Here's why
Yeah.
we care about you and our community."
Yep. And again, it's neat to hear how uniquely aligned we are as companies. We've always tried to be, at Gardner's the kind of the anti-mattress store. And the
Yeah.
same thing, like mattress, nobody likes
Yes.
mattress shopping. Nobody wants to do it. Kind of the same thing with buying a new HVAC system. No,
Yeah.
people want to be
Yeah.
cool and they want to be
Yeah.
warmer in the winter, but like they don't want to pay for it. They don't want to
Right.
replace the thing.
No, that's right.
Um, and it's the same thing with mattresses. Most people have bad, poor mattress buying experiences, or they've
Yeah,
had
that's
mattress
right.
after mattress after mattress that didn't meet the need. And,
Yes.
the industry in general doesn't have a
Yeah.
good reputation.
That's
It's always
exactly
high
right.
pressure. It's buy it because it's on
Yes.
sale. It's this and that. So it's just neat to hear how your thought process again aligns with the way we think
Yeah.
about our customer service, about our reputation, about just treating people the way they should be
Yeah.
treated.
Yeah. I
It's what
gotta
it's all
say, it's
about.
like, some of those I so appreciate that you mentioned, like, buy what's on when it's on sale type of gimmicks, for
Yep.
lack of better words, because there was some that were running over the last couple years in our area, which they were my favorites because they were as unauthentic and as untrue as possible, and it was, buy an AC, get a free furnace, or the other way around, and I'm like,
Okay.
I
Okay.
I hope nobody believes that's true. Like, they can't honestly
Right.
believe it, but that was the gimmick.
Right.
"Buy an AC today, you'll get a free furnace along with it." And I'm like, that's not how this works, right? And yet those were that's just what's been used for so long.
Yeah.
Or you'll get something in the mail that's like, "Your furnace is about ready to expire," and if like that type of tactic. And so I think there has been a long time a need to shift that attitude and that posture from our
Yep.
industry. I think it is taking place. I think it's getting more transparent, and if Vertex can help to be that in our region, I know of a couple other companies that are equally as aligned with that core value, and I
Yeah.
really
Yep.
respect them highly. And I think they are trying to make a shift in the way people see the trades and the way they see mechanical companies, and
Yeah.
that they're not all out there just to take advantage of you.
Yep. That's awesome. Way to be a light in the community
Yeah, that's
from that
right.
standpoint. That's
Absolutely.
awesome. So, what other ways is Vertex Mechanical involved in the community? We talked a little bit about
Yeah.
the Reading Phillies event, the
Mhm.
Calico night, I think
Yeah,
it
that's right.
was just this past weekend, right? Just Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, just Friday evening. Just it's one of the
Yeah.
things that we love doing. It's probably my favorite like community night of the year
Yep.
that we're involved in. And we do a number of different community activities throughout the year. This past Friday was our annual Cocalico Community Night.
Okay.
For probably almost a decade now, Vertex has sponsored like a fireworks night up at the Reading Fight and Phils, which was
Yep.
initially really for like little league teams in the Cocalico region, but it's just kind of grown over time, and we've kind of developed a beautiful partnership with the school district, and so both the Reading Phillies invest and we invest, and we create a whole evening just to celebrate the school
That's awesome.
district, and so Friday night, we had our annual meeting. We had 135 of the students that sang in like the choir for the national anthem. It
Wow.
was
That's
awesome.
cool.
It was so awesome. Of course, the little league teams are out there before the game throwing ball, and that was really great.
Mhm. Mhm.
We honored some of the retirees from the school district. Some of the existing faculty did like slingshot competitions against some of our staff. Um, we genuinely believe in that we're better together in the community,
Yeah.
and so the
Mm.
Cocalico
Mhm.
district has been one of those really I would call it a divine partnership because we found a way to really serve them and their district through internships and through unique sponsorships. I told them a couple years ago, listen, we can just like send checks, but what we'd really love is,
Yeah.
you guys have a fixed budget. And so if there's a teacher, there's a department that has a unique need, give us a call. And sometimes that's the theater department. They'll call and be like, we don't have money for costumes for the theater, or like, let us sponsor that.
Mhm.
Because the
Yeah, yeah.
unique impact on a couple kids in particular for just that thing
Mhm.
that they're invested in is really significant. So that's one of the
That's
things that we
awesome.
love. We sponsor a number of organizations within our region here. Real Life
Yep.
Community Services is another one that we love to sponsor a number of their events. Um,
Shout out to Rod
but
Redkay.
that's exactly right. Yes, Mayor Rod.
Mm. Yep.
We just
Yep. We've had
really
he's a two-timer on Lancaster Connect.
nice,
So yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rod's a great friend, and
He
again, someone
awesome
that
organization. Mm.
it is an amazing organization. And then you get like the Calico Ed Foundation as well.
Yep.
And actually, I think that over the last couple years, even as a business, maybe it's unwise business practice, but we've actually tried to constrict our service area a little bit.
Mm.
Even
Yeah.
though we go all the way to Mechanicsburg and all the way to Philly and
Yep.
all the way down to Quarryville, which feels like the other side of well, it is the other side of the county for us,
It is, yeah.
Um, it is.
Mhm.
But, we've tried to constrict it a little bit because we want our
Yeah.
investment in the community to
Yep.
be deep, like deep roots.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
any opportunity that we have to serve, teachers, families. So this year for the game, we handed out 3,000 T-shirts for, students and families, and just a sea of blue Calico was there. So, yeah, we love getting to serve the
Yes.
community and, the language that I, use around it. There's 2 of the teachers that retired,
Yeah,
just
that's
this
cool.
year. They got to throw out the first pitch. Actually, teacher and a custodian, but yeah. And so, yeah, any opportunity that we have again to build that mutually beneficial, thriving as a community, we love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really wish, Jeff was able to be on the show. He,
Yeah,
went to Cocalico. So
awesome.
he's
That's
got
cool.
roots there and,
Yes,
that this would, I'm sure he'd have some, comments to make during
no
that. So,
doubt. Yeah,
um, I'll have to I'll have to have him watch this segment here.
yeah. Make sure he does.
So, I can't believe it's like 45 minutes has kinda gone
Flew
like
through.
that.
Yeah, I know. I was watching
We're,
like, oh my goodness.
yeah, right. Goodness. So what's next? What's on the horizon for Vertex Mechanical or even the Homology podcast? Looking ahead, maybe the rest of
Yeah,
2025 or
sure.
beyond. What's on the horizon?
On the homology horizon, we're about to enter what is conventionally our really busy season as a business.
Sure.
And so our margin for that kind of shrinks. So we've
Yeah.
pre-recorded a couple that we'll prepare to put out here in the coming weeks. And then really we just buckle down for the next couple months because again, kind of
Yeah.
serving customers is at its peak demand over the next couple months. We're a small organization. So I would say we're like a medium small business, right? We're not just 2 guys or 3 guys. We're also not 200 technicians. So
Right.
the entire team really rallies pretty hardcore in this season to serve the customers and actually serve one another because it gets pretty emotionally exhausting sometimes, physically
I
exhausting,
can
emotionally
imagine.
exhausting. But that's
Yeah.
that's kind of what's next. You won't see us doing as many of the extracurricular activities until we get
Sure.
into like August, September. But then we'll
Right.
reengage like in things like the Denver Fair. We help sponsor the fireworks
Oh,
night at the Denver Fair, and like that's another big event that's coming up. So we'll have that kind of fun activity in the future. But for the next 2 or 3 months, it's pretty singular in purpose.
and so let's say somebody's in the Lancaster community has an emergency,
Yeah,
AC goes down. The phone number was there on the screen. Maybe
yep,
you could say the phone number to contact.
yeah.
Um,
717-335-2633 is the number to call, and that gets
yep.
you right in touch with our team. If you call in the after hours, you'll still get a real live human being that'll talk to
Okay.
you,
Yep.
and, even if that's 1 AM, we might not be able to get there at 1:30 AM, but you'll talk to a real
Mm.
human being and help to be able to, get a job prepped so that we can come and serve you right away.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And of course, the website again, vertex-mechanical.com. It's right there on the
Yep.
screen. And of course, the Homology podcast.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's, you just pull up YouTube, search
Get up, yeah,
Homology podcast. There it is. And then,
and
right there it is. YouTube at Vertex Mechanical INC 3693. If somebody's going to type it all
that's
in there.
the address that must have been assigned at one point. You know?
Yeah.
That's what that's what we
What's the
would
significance of the numbers there?
none. None that I'm
Yeah,
aware of at
right.
all.
Or, of
Yeah,
course, Facebook, Vertex
yeah,
Mechanical on Facebook, and you
okay,
can watch the Homology podcast right there as well.
yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Josh, is there anything we missed talking about that you'd like to mention about Vertex, about Vince, about what you guys do, about the podcast.
Yeah, no, we hit a lot of things, Ben.
We
This has
did.
been a
We
blast to
did.
talk. Thank you so much for hosting me here.
Yeah.
It's been a real honor. Thanks for letting us share
Yep.
a little bit about who we are. I do think that Vertex is unique in our region
Yeah.
at a core level. What we can do is similar to what a lot of other companies can do, but who we are, I think, is
Mm,
unique.
mm. That's awesome. And we can feel that through this conversation. So
Yeah,
thanks for being
thanks.
on. Thanks for sharing.
Sure.
Not not done with you quite yet. If you got a few more minutes, we've got our
Okay,
connection cocktail here. It's a few questions to get to know our guest a
let's
little
do
bit
it.
better here. So
Yeah.
we're going to jump right in.
Okay.
Favorite book, podcast, or TV
Mhm.
show you're
Okay.
crushing on right now?
Favorite book? So I'm a sucker for biographies.
Okay.
I love biographies, and partly because I'm intrigued by human story, and so I just love
Yep.
biographies. Probably
Yep.
the favorite one I ever read was a couple years ago. Ron Chernow wrote a book on or biography on Grant. It was like enormous. I was like, I don't know,
Oh, wow.
800
Yeah.
pages or something. I just devoured it. I was
That's
fascinated by it.
awesome.
I'm not naturally a
Yeah.
reader, but I was like, this was a fascinating man. So I do love biographies of all types.
That's cool.
I disclaimer is that I'm halfway through my PhD program right now, and so
Yep.
I have forced readings, and so like the pleasure reading has like the balance there has gone. The
Yeah.
pleasure reading's gone
Yeah.
down, required reading's gone up. So I'm reading a lot on leadership theories, etc. But
That's
then
cool.
you said favorite TV show. I don't know if I have one, but I did just see that last night was the first episode of a revived Duck Dynasty that just came out,
Oh,
brand
interesting.
new.
Hmm.
Yeah, so it's like I guess like second generation. So I know my kids
Yeah.
tune in
Yeah.
on. I didn't get there yet, but I thought, well, that could be an interesting one to watch, especially
There you
since
go.
the patriarch Phil had just passed away.
Yep.
I think last
Yep.
week. So maybe
Yep.
that will be coming up on my list.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah. Well, focus on the PhD, and then the TV
I
can
know. I do.
can be
I do.
in
I need to
between or
stay focused
after.
on that for sure.
There you go.
Good question.
All right. We're kind of coming into like peak vacation season. I know it's your busy season at Vertex
Yes.
Mechanical, but
Yes.
let's say you could go anywhere, dream vacation, money wasn't a problem, whatever. Where are you
Mm.
going?
I think next on that bucket list, for my wife and
Yep.
I is probably Alaska. I think it's somewhere
Oh, that's a good
wild.
one. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We just got to hit a bucket list last year, and we spent some time in Italy, and that was like I never
That's
thought in
cool.
my wildest dreams I'd go there. That
Yep.
was remarkable. But I think like somewhere wild in Alaska.
Yep.
I'm
Yep.
also, if I didn't mention this, I'm a massive introvert, so I love the thought of how many people are in Alaska, I'm like, "Let's go there." That's my favorite amount of
Right.
people.
Yeah, you could probably find a spot and not see a single
Yes.
person for days or
I'll
weeks
see
if you
more
wanted to.
bear than I will people. That's my
There you
suspicion.
go. Yeah. So that's the formula. Bear to ratio or bear to
That's the
person
excellent
ratio has to
That's an
be
excellent ratio. Yeah, per square
well in
mile.
favor of the
More
bears.
bear, less
Yeah,
people.
there you go. That's awesome. All right, now we're bringing it back home. Favorite
Huh,
spot in Lancaster? It could be coffee shop, restaurant, park, hidden gem, whatever.
wow. So I'm an outdoors guy. So I
Yep.
like parks. I mean, I like going everywhere from up here it's Middle Creek, which is, the
Oh
northern
yeah,
end,
yeah.
or even all the way south, which would be like Susquehannock State Park is all the way way, way down there. I love the
Yep.
outdoors. So those would be some of my favorite places. A hidden gem. I call it a hidden gem just because it's a part of our little community up here. Now, when I lived in
Yep.
Manor Township, the little hidden gem was like the Central Manor Mart. Officially, it was the
Oh,
bakery
yeah.
and it was called the Bakery and Grill, but everybody from there knew it was just the Mart. So when
Yep.
we moved up here, it was like, well, what's that place? And we've discovered that up in the northern end here, that place is called the Country Corner, the KK. And it
Okay.
is a tiny little place up here in Reinhold's, and they got maybe seating for 20, I don't know, like, not much,
Yep.
um, but the best soft serve ice cream, I mean, just the best soft serve.
All right.
And and I'll tell you, like, there's nights that we'll kinda look across, like, it might be 7 o'clock still, and we look across everybody at home, and like, "Are you going?" I'm thinking like, "Yeah, you going to the KK?" I was like, "Let's go to the KK. We're going right now." And we'll hop in there, and,
So
you get, soft serves that are this big, and like, oh my goodness, it is so good. So, yeah, that's like my little
so
hidden gem.
so Awesome. Thanks for sharing. What is so special about the soft serve? I mean, it's this big. That's awesome in itself. But like
Yeah, it's not the
soft serve is
quantity.
usually vanilla, chocolate, twist. Or do they have special flavors? Can you
Well,
load it
they
up with like
do. That's an
stuff?
excellent question. Yeah, you can load it, and the flavors, I mean, they might have, like, raspberry or mint.
Okay.
They have
Okay.
tea berry, which I think is particularly,
Yep.
intriguing. Do you know tea berry?
Yep. I've had it once or twice. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, I'm
yeah,
not
which
going
is
to turn
kinda like
away almost any ice cream flavor.
yeah, right.
So,
But tea berry is particularly, unique up there. It is like I don't know, it's just, like, from a quality standpoint, I know
yep.
what product they use and everything, and it's just exceptionally creamy, delicious, and you always like, "I'll
Hmm.
just take I'll take a medium today," and, like, halfway through, you're like, "I shoulda gone with the kids' cone. I shoulda gone with the kids' cone," 'cause
Right. Right.
it's so much, but it's just that delicious, and I think it's the nostalgia, of a small
Yeah. Yeah.
place.
Yep.
There's lights under
Yep.
the trees, sit outside, and so maybe it's not that it's the best, I think it is, but I think it's really
Yeah.
actually about having that place in your backyard that you build memories with your
Yep.
family, and
Yep.
that's
Yep.
what makes it a hidden gem, and like I said, that's why it was the Mart back in the day, but now it's the KK.
Yep. Yep. The country corner. Is that what
Yes,
you
but
called it?
with a K.
With a K. Country corner with a
Yeah,
K. That's
KK, you
awesome. Love it. Thanks for sharing. I
thanks.
mean, ice cream is near and dear to my heart as well.
Yeah,
So,
well, and
I think if
there's
I was
Top Ice Cream, like, in right because we have Fox Meadows that start just around the corner from
uh-huh.
us as well, so
Yep.
top tier
Yep.
ice cream there, and then you go north, and you got the cake. I mean, it's just all around, and,
It's a beautiful thing.
we are super blessed, and there of course, right now, it's strawberry season, so strawberry
Uh-huh.
everything around here.
Yep. Yep. Very good. Well,
Awesome.
thanks for playing along with
Yeah, thanks,
Connection
man.
Cocktail here on Lancaster Connects.
Sure.
Thanks for being on the show. Again, it's
My
Josh
pleasure.
Vanderplate, CEO of Vertex Mechanical. Thanks for sharing about all the great things you're doing in business and with the community and
Yeah,
with your podcast, the Homology podcast. It was great taking a deeper dive with you on those subjects. So thanks again for
yeah.
being on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for all your great questions. It was an honor.
Yep. Yep. Have a great afternoon, Josh. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.
Yep. All right. Man, we are almost out of time. Again, thank you to Josh for being on the show, for sharing about Vertex Mechanical. Really, really cool organization. If you have HVAC, electrical, plumbing, any of those kind of home trade needs, Vertex Mechanical is your place. Again, vertex-mechanical.com is their website. Doing things the right way, treating customers the way we treat customers here at Gardner's. And it's cool to see how our businesses are aligned in that way. So just testimonial time quickly here at the end of the show. Testimonial here for Gardner's Mattress and More. What's unique about some of our testimonials, of course, Josh and I talked about Google reviews and the positive feedback that people put online, whether that's some of these community groups or Facebook or of course Google. But people still go old school and write handwritten testimonials back to us, which is always fun to receive in the mail. People put a stamp on an envelope and send it in, right? Old school. So this person, Mary, is a recent customer, and she worked with Drew, one of our excellent salespeople here at Gardner's. She just said Drew was wonderful. He is very tuned in to all of her concerns, very knowledgeable and patient. The process to assess the sleep needs and make mattress recommendations was very thorough, and there was no doubt that Drew knew the products and was not at all there just to make a sale. We talked about that with Josh. Some HVAC companies are unfortunately make the customer feel like it's just a very transactional. I need a this replaced, and it's kind of in and out sort of service job, and that's not the way Vertex does business. It's not the way Gardner's does business. And Gardner's was not the first store I checked in my quest to replace my current mattress, but I soon knew I was in the right place, and right place is all in cap. So that was cool to get that in this morning's mail from Mary, one of our recent customers. So thank you, Mary. Thank you to all of our great customers here at Gardner's. If we can help you with your sleep needs, if you're watching and you woke up a little grumpy or you woke up a little sore, you tossed and turned, flipped and flopped all night, give Gardner's a shot. Just give us a visit. Check out our website, see what we're all about, see how we can help. Stop by, come take a nap. You can rest in peace. Well, actually, that was pretty morbid. You can shop in peace here at Gardner's. we're not going to be a high pressure sales organization here ever. So we can help. Let us know. All right. That about wraps up today's show. Thank you for watching. Thank you again to my guest, Josh from Vertex Mechanical. We're back here next Monday at 2:00 with another great guest here on Lancaster Connects, making connections in our community. Again, letting people tell stories, great people with great stories of how they're helping the Lancaster community. So that's what we do every week here at Lancaster Connects. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next connection.